Welcome to our 2019 AGM in Greensboro, North Carolina. I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to welcome a few people here, those in attendance. We've got our executive board. I'm Gary Huber, I'm the president. Vice President is Mark Lawrence. Secretary is Ben Trevino. Jim Miller, you want to stand up? That's Jim Miller, our Director of Regional Reps. We've got Dan Lukash, our Director of Programs, Senior Director of Programs. Todd Abraham, Senior Director of Instruction. We've got Lance Van Heidsma, is our Director of Operations. We've got John Puglisi, our ex-president. We've got Carmen Servio, our financial guru. We've got BJ. BJ, raise your hand, stand up. He's our legal counsel. Did I get everybody? Oh, Mark Cahan, our Director of Video Instruction for us. Guys, I wish you'd just stand up and introduce yourself since we've got so few people. Starting in the back there.
Jared Gordon from Arkansas.
Okay. Hi, Jared.
Sandra Dwani from Bristol.
All right.
Jude Carr from North Carolina.
Corey
Start in the back.
Ernie Fisher, North Carolina. Frank Civic, South Carolina. Mark Allison.
And George, North Carolina. Bill Clement, Region 6, Regional Rep.
Gary Duncan, North Carolina.
Paul James, North Carolina.
Ron Brown, Western Pennsylvania.
Joe Betty, Southern California, Region 10. Dave Slimer, Pennsylvania, Region 3.
Owen Waldman, Virginia, Region 5 representative.
Okay, very good. Thank you for all for. Oh, sorry, Cal. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. The screen.
Paul Manowski, New Jersey.
Very good. I want to thank you all for coming. I think this weekend, after we hear what we talk about in the AGM today, and for who's not staying for tomorrow? Great. All right. What you see is our presentation. What these men have put together for our clinics, and this will be the format for the rest of the year for our instruction. And I think you'll get a real kick out of it. This is really, really good stuff. Okay. All right, we're going to go through things tonight. We're going to skip on some things that aren't pertinent, but we're going to go through it anyway. We're not going to do a lot of opening remarks. As you've seen, NISOA this year has changed quite a bit. We've gone a lot more online. We've got a lot more instruction. We've changed some of the executive board. We eliminated the position of executive director, and we moved those duties to Lance and Tom. Okay, it was something that we thought was at this time necessary to get a better handle on things. You'll see that throughout tonight. You'll see about the new instruction, the new ideas, the getting more involved with recruitment, and how better practices we have to try and make NISOA new again, I guess we'd say. Not to transpose anything from anybody else who talks about making something new again. But, yeah. Anyway, so we'll try and give you a little background of what's going on. Each director of each programs will give you a little insight as to what's going on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Okay? Please feel free to ask. We've eliminated some programs this year. We've added some programs this year. We've instituted we've made a bigger push in some areas, and a lot of that's directed to recruitment. We all know that, and Tom will cover this in a little bit when we talk about membership. We average losing about 500 members a year, and we gain about 500 a year. Okay, do we need more referees or are we good? Are we in status quo? This is something we'll talk about. Okay, so one board member that's not here is George Nugent. He could not make it in. He's our, well, basically in charge of the National Referee Program, okay, and the assessment program. And George is in here today. Lance will talk on his behalf, okay. How many are chapter leaders in here? Okay, good. Let's go right on. Let's move on to the, yeah, let's jump around. Let's go to the summit. We all had a summit in St. Louis this year. I don't know, how many are familiar with the summit this year that we had in St. Louis? We invited, it was open to the whole entire country. We had 150. First we thought it was going to be big if we could have 90. It ended up where we had 150. We had some major presenters, for those of you that didn't know about it. We had Tori and Chris Penzo. We had Kermit Prisenberry. We had Corey Rockwell. We had Ben Trevino. We had Lance. Dr. Joe Macknick attended. And it was geared to, we did an on-field fitness test, or fitness performance, which was incredible. They ran through, what was it called? Was it what the FIFA referees trained with?
Practical training sessions.
Practical training session, which went over incredible. We were lucky enough to get the Rams park in St. Louis, since they're not there anymore. So we had an entire 80-foot tall football stadium covered. All right, and we did the physical portion out there, and we had multiple classrooms. And it was pretty interesting. A lot of the information we're actually using some of those portions of some of the clinics that we taught in the National Referee and the clinic programs for the rest of the year. Oh yeah, Ryan Sigich was there from the NCAA. Manny Ortiz from the ESCR was there also, and we all talked about, you know, the various problems, the good things that are going on, what's going on with NISOA, etc. We're planning, if things work out, another summit this year, and we're looking for areas to go to. We've had already some contact from the East region, we had some from southern regions, we've had some from western regions. So, you know, we're looking at 150 to 200 people. It's an incredible thing. Everybody got T-shirts. What else, Lance?
Said it all.
We've said it all. It's just something new. It was a summit, and we had people. The longest person came from California. We had people from the East Coast, West Coast. So we had, you know, over 94 of the people traveled more than 75 miles to get there. And the survey responses were, out of 5s, they were 4.5s. So everybody got a lot out of it, including the physical fitness, which I didn't think we'd get that big of feedback on. Here we got guys in February, you know, not thinking about what kind of training they did, and it was pretty heavy, heavy training. On our website, parts of each presentation is segmented, and it's on the website. Okay, so you can go on there and view it, for those of you that haven't already, and you can take it back to your own chapters and show what we did and what we talked about, which I think is pretty imperative as to when we're doing instruction in our chapters.
I think one of the big takeaways was the on-field, having referees go through practical things on the field, and we had almost a team and a half that were there of the U19 players that actually worked with the referees in some of the field sessions. So it was really good to get hands-on. And the team that we had, there was 7 or 8 college players that had signed that were going on. So these are some of the referees were seeing people that they're going to see on the field. So it was really good to work with that kind of level of player.
Okay, let's, I already talked about the elimination of the executive director's position. We just allocated those jobs. The 2019 appointments for vacant positions. The Lance, the Region 1 RAC is now.
Region 1 RAC is William Carey of Massachusetts. He is taken over for Bill Fortin on a temporary basis. Region 5 RAC is Mark Harrington out of Memphis, Tennessee. Those of you that don't know the RAC position, or Regional Area Coordinator, they basically coordinate and keep track of the national referee requirements for the National Football League. Something we're going to try to do more of is encourage referees in those areas and promote the national referee program through the RACs and the regional RACs. And then also the Region 8 rep. We went a couple of years kind of vacant, kind of a little bit uncertain of where we were, and we had Kalaf step up and apply for the position, and he was appointed Region 8.
And one more new appointment. Kenny Mather is, for health reasons, unfortunately, is stepping down as Region 7 Area Coordinator. And we've made an appointment of Tony DeLois for that area. I don't know if many of you know Tony, but Tony's been instrumental in the Indiana and the Midwest area and refereeing. So, and for all, keep Ken Mather in your prayers, please. When you get a chance, for all of you that know Ken. Okay, let's move on to, let's talk about the referee of the week. Did everybody see, have you guys looked at and seen the referee of the weeks and the appointments and everything? We're going to talk, Mark, you want to talk a little bit more about
We have one in the room.
Well, we
She
got
would
one.
like
Oh,
to
that's
stand
right. I
up.
forgot.
Tori Penso.
D. She was one of our referees of the week. Mark, Lance, why don't you talk about the process on that for the people that don't know it?
Okay, the process on that was, nominations came in through the website. John was able to format a nomination form through the website. So nominations came through there. And what they did was nominations came from regional reps, they came from the RACs, they came from chapter leadership, they also came from peers in the National Referee Program. And from there, we had a committee, a selection committee of 5 individuals that were scattered throughout the country. And they met, we met once a week through WebEx and also through email. And from there, we selected the candidates for national referee. We selected the winners based on that. They were selected based on the merit of their nomination. They were all located throughout the entire country, so it was a good representation for most of them.
Any questions? So, with that being said, we decided to rename, or to name the award, and I'll let Mark go into some.
Sure. And for those who don't know me, my name is Mark Lawrence. I'm also president of the Michigan chapter. Before I was elected, I'm currently with the vice president of NISOA. We renamed the award after Terry Vaughn. And Terry Vaughn, referee, people level, referee MLS for a long time. For me, growing up in the Midwest, I refereed lots of games with him, all the way up to when he first became a national referee. And it was a very long, storied career. And he, was sick, and is so well representative of what a referee in the United States, a really quality referee in the United States is. I feel like that was the reason why I went to where we were at. On another note, OSI is the presenting sponsor of the Referee of the Week award, and the Referee of the Week receives a gift card from OSI, as well as the person who nominated that referee. So it really encourages people to nominate referees as well.
Of course, it's only good for purchases from OSI, but
Right.
hey, it's good. It's good.
Right. But with that, I think I don't know what the total number of nominations were on the number off the top of your head, but I feel like it was a lot. So if you do see someone on the field that is doing an exceptional job working the course of the season, hopefully nominate.
We encourage you to nominate referees, and it's not, once you've nominated a referee and they've won, you cannot nominate somebody else. We encourage nominations. We have a lot of good referees in NISOA throughout the entire country that deserve more recognition. So this was a way for us to provide that recognition for them, and maybe help them reach the next level for their opportunities and goals.
And there was heated conversations between, for some weeks. There were some weeks where two of the nominees were all the way to the top, and conversations back and forth. And the good thing is, not all of they weren't all Division I officials, you know. And it's the good thing is where we're at with NISOA, we service all of college, and it was a good reflection that we had for the referee.
For those of you that don't know, Terry won 4 years ago his last college game. He worked for me. He did my Missouri Valley men's championship. He then retired afterwards, and I found out that Terry suffers from Huntington disease, which there's no cure for. His father passed. His father passed away at 49. Terry's 47 right now. So it's a tough go. So again, if you want to put somebody in your prayers, please do so. Okay. And we start with the first week of the games this year for nominations. So it is something, I mean, this is something really good. And it's publicized, it's all over our web pages. You people, I mean, we people, the older people, us, okay, need to get on that web page and see what we're doing. All right, we're getting hits left and right, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Actually, let's go on to that. How many of you are registered for the NISOA YouTube channel in here? Okay, Lance.
So the NISOA YouTube channel is a new medium and platform for us to provide education to the next generation of NISOA officials and the current generation of NISOA officials. You can be a subscriber, which many of you are in here. And subscription, just a subscriber it's free. It just means that you subscribe to that channel, which when we upload educational material, you'll get a notification that it's been uploaded. And from there, you can go and watch the educational material at your leisure. As Gary mentioned, we have the summit. We have each session of the summit posted on there for our membership who cannot attend, who are able to attend, to be able to still watch it and get that information. Going forward, working with Dr. Todd Abraham and George Nugent, we're going to be putting other educational material on there, hopefully for not only just referees, but also for assessors and possibly instructors. This AGM will be up there for the membership to see. So it's going to be where you go to find out what NISOA has been doing and what kind of education that NISOA has been providing. So I highly encourage you. We're at about 1,050-ish subscribers in the last, it's only been about 3 months, so it's about 21% of our membership. And we were able to customize our URL to make it easy and user-friendly. So it's just www.youtube.com/NISOA. Nice and easy.
Hopefully everybody understands that.
Send the facts out.
For those of you who don't, have your grandson explain it to you. You'll be able to pick it up real quick. Or those of you younger, have your kids explain it to you, whichever way it goes. I think that's another huge move that we're trying to get progressive into the 21st century. Ben, let's talk about the referee development and ID events in review of what we're looking at on those. Try to explain what we did this year.
So we had one event in Florida, and one day, 4 games, and we had 8 assigners, 6 assigners, 2 referee coaches, myself and Kermit, and 8 referees, and they got to work 2 games apiece. And on-field evaluation, as soon as we're off, we're talking with them, with the assigners. The assigners get to see referees that they might have not seen in that area. One Division I assigner, And it was to showcase the referees, to get them eyes that they've never seen before. And for me, to me, this is a great opportunity because coaches get to see us interacting with referees, and they're in the spring. Coaches don't really care about games in the spring. So it was a really sterile environment, and there was an ambulance that had to come. We had a couple really good situations that we got down on camera, and they're on YouTube. And it was a good learning experience for the referees, and the comments that they received from us, and then the comments that they gave us, it just quality stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the referee coaches that we had there was Ben Trevino and Kermit Quisenberry. They would be assigned to one match. We would evaluate the officials and give them coaching and feedback. And then the assigners that were also there were able to evaluate the referees and give coaching and feedback. We also had chapter leadership that was there to experience this referee coaching model that we're going to be moving towards. And then we also had local, national, and regional and chapter assessors to give the training as well. And just to kind of piggyback on Ben said, it was invaluable for the coaches to see that we care about refereeing. So most of them think we just kind of show up an hour before the game or 30 minutes before the game, go out there and referee. They don't understand all the training that we go through, the dedication. So we had a lot of college coaches that came up to us asking what we were doing, and they were informed ahead of time, and they still were like, oh, well, you know, when you guys training, how are you doing things? And then at the very end, they were fantastic. And we were able to get a couple situations on video because we had the GoPro there, videoing the match, so that we were able to give video analysis to the referees instantly, showing them something.
We're looking at this, and we've already had some contacts with some people and some feedback for some spring tournaments, okay, that are being put on. You know, we've got one in St. Louis, and there's other ones in the areas where we could come in and set up a similar design to help with these programs, bring in some coaches, assessors, assigners, and put on these springs and give these referees a little bit more training. So if it fits into your program, if you think it can help, let us know.
I want to also say, being a former college Division I coach, is being able to see that that's there and to see that NISOA logo there working with referees. It's something that I think that for the future of us, our NISOA is healthy because the coaches get to see us interacting and there's value to it, right? There's value to what they see. And I just think that that's a huge thing for us that we can tap in. And it doesn't have to be a huge national event. You could almost do this with 8 NIA schools and a handful of referees. You could do this, anybody could do this. And the application is online, and you can fill that out and it'll come to us and then we'll review it. And I think it's a great opportunity for assigners also to show their conferences or the schools that they work for, to be able to show that to them that this service is out there for them.
Any questions, comments? Like I said, if you think it might work for you, let us know. All right, we're going to go into reports from our directors. Our first up will be Servio, our Director of Financial Management. Please.
Good evening. Honored to be here in front of my roots of North Carolina constituents. So it's an honor to be here. I'm Carmen Servio. I'm the Director of Financial Management for NISOA. I believe this is my 3rd year in that role. And one of the most important things that we've done, I think we mentioned it last year at the AGM, but we were in the selection process to hire our accountant, which began work in January of 2018, where we hired a NISOA member, David Asaki, who's employed with George Johnson and Company out of Detroit, Michigan. And a NISOA referee. David's done a yeoman's job. We're very pleased with his work. He's provided us the most recent financial statement dated April 30th of this year. Based on those financials, for the fiscal year 2019, we've taken in a total of $383,000 in revenue, comprised mostly of membership dues. Our expectation with our budget this year for our revenue is $449,000, so we haven't reached or received all of our membership dues, but we don't foresee that number changing with our expectation. The expenses that we've incurred so far this year are $140,000, comprised mostly of salaries and other fees that are included with referee training and whatnot. Our 2019 budgeted expenses are $477,000, so we've yet to expense a lot of what we're expecting to have to pay. We're still expecting to do that. Our current budget, just as it was last year, when we started last year, is a zero balanced budget, which means that everything that we take in, we're expecting to give back to our members. We're not expecting to increase our asset size at all. So we want to spend what we get, all towards the referees for training purposes. Our budget I have available. I've got extra copies if anybody would like to see it. Currently, we're still expecting our 2019 budget to be zero balanced, which means our assets as of last year, December 31st, should not be any greater than this year, December 31st. If anything, they're going to be decreased. So we're trying to decrease our asset size. So we're not an organization to acquire assets, we're an organization to provide to our members. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody?
Would you identify for anyone what those salary positions are?
We only have 2 salaried positions, actually 3. Yeah. The only 3 people that do anything with money in our organization. All the other members are all volunteer based. Lance, his position is salary based. Mr. Tom, he's a salary based. And now we have Mark Cahan, our director of video instruction.
And then our instructors during the referee camps, there are stipends paid to those instructors.
Those are stipends.
But they're stipends, not salaries.
Everybody else in the red shirts is a volunteer. Any other questions?
Just to quell any rumors that were out there. Okay. Mercedes out.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go on to our Senior Director of Programs, Dan Lukacs. Dan's going to go over our strategic plan, a little update on it, the process, et cetera, et cetera. I know this is probably a little strange to some of you, but if you've got any questions, ask them as we go along. Dan will be more than happy to make up an answer for you.
Thank you very much. Much of what Gary introduced this meeting with is based on the strategic plan. He's talking about a new NISOA. And one of the ways we established that was under the previous president, John Puglisi, initiated that we need to get a more regimented, more firm, on-paper plan of how we as a membership, how we as an organization want to function. So we developed the idea that we need a strategic plan as an organization. So just to refresh how we got there, through early 2018, we did a variety of focus group surveys to our members, to the region reps, to chapter leaders. We asked some probing questions about what was good about NISOA, what NISOA could improve, what areas should we cover. We took all that information, and we had a variety of meetings among current board members, past board members, other chapter leaders. We also had some guidance from the facilitator to help us develop a firm strategic plan. NISOA never had a strategic plan that was formalized, written down, and provided guidance of where we would follow. And on the screen, you can see the 4 what we call strategic imperatives. Strategic imperative is a broad outline of a goal, of something that you want to accomplish for your members as part of an organization. So we have these 4 broad strategic imperatives. Within each one of these, as we'll see in a minute, we'll go through each of those in just a sec, you'll see we have specific activities. You've heard of many of these activities already. Everything that was mentioned, from the referee training to the networking to the video was all based on, well, is that in our strategic plan? Why are we doing that? Let's look at our strategic plan before we decide to do an activity. So we spent a lot of 2018 goal setting objectives, sort of set up an action plan of what we can do. That's with any strategic plan. You can't do it all at once. We've taken certain parts and said we can do now, other parts we set for the future, and there are certain steps required to be done first before we go to other steps. So there's a whole variety of actions and possibilities within this strategic plan. Within it, there are parts we're accomplishing within a year. There are also parts we hope to accomplish within 5 years. And of course, with any plan, it's up to change. We sit there and do that. We just spent, before this meeting, most of us were here early this afternoon, we spent the vast majority of the afternoon reviewing where we've done, where we want to go, and what we're going to accomplish this year. So let me just touch a little bit on some of the specific imperatives. So if we can go to strategic imperative 1, we've heard a lot of these activities. This imperative is where we want to reach out to our members more, show the value that NISOA can provide to them so they can referee the best college games that they're capable of refereeing. And we want to provide them resources to do that. Many of the activities that the board discussed were directly from this particular imperative. A lot of what Todd Abraham's going to discuss shortly in his report is going to come out of these particular imperatives. And as you're reading, you can see some of them are ongoing and future. One of the ones is future that we discussed this afternoon is the assessment coaching. There's been some groundwork started with that, but it's not one we fully implemented, but we hope to get that. This is a near future activity that we hope to have going very soon. So you'll hear more about the specific activities of that. As far as imperative number 2, that is working with our chapter relationship in the NISOA organization itself. John Puglisi is gladly taken on this role. He's going to come up and give 2 minutes, give a short little talk about where he sees that going. Right now it's listed as future, though he has started one part on that, and he's going to give us a few minutes on that. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Ken. We're an organization that's over 50 years old at this point. And as we were reviewing the landscape of college soccer and how it's changed over 50 years, we need to assess our organization, the activities, and our internal structure to make sure that we are keeping pace and we are providing the type of services that we want both to our members and the institutions that we serve. So from an organizational standpoint, we're really taking a zero-based approach and looking at our existing organization as well as from the national level and down to the chapter level. We have well over 140 chapters. I think it's 147 chapters. 114 now. Yeah, I guess we've lost a few. And various sizes with various capabilities. We want to make sure that the chapter model is adapted for the current environment. You know, chapters sprung up in an age where we were doing a lot of very local assigning. Chapters were the assigning hub for a particular area. I come from New York City. We were servicing 8 or 9 different conferences, but just the institutions in New York City. So the chapters were very much set up on a geographical basis. In the current soccer environment, we're very much regional with major conferences, Division I, Division II, and Division III conferences spanning the geographical area of several chapters. So we thought it would be time to assess where we're at organizationally to make sure that we are we're pertinent. To that end, we're taking on some goals to make sure that we have an operational manual or best practices for our chapters so that the chapters that are running across the country are meeting their minimum legal and organizational requirements as well as our operational requirements for being hubs of on-field coaching, in-classroom types of instruction, as well as the administration of chapters and organizing recruiting and essentially bringing NISOA to the membership. A lot of chapters NISOA is probably well out in the front here in North Carolina as being one of the preeminent chapters in the country. I think I can say that fairly securely, and it's my time as president noting what NISOA has been doing. Other chapters are struggling. Other chapters have disappeared. We have to make sure that our organization is aligned with the demands of the current college soccer environment, and that we are doing what needs to be done for what we want to do as a national level. So that's really what we're working on. The first deliverable that will come out of this will be a chapter best management practices manual that we'll be distributing, and we'll be talking with chapter leaderships around just to make sure that not only the legal requirements of a chapter are being met, but also what the organization, what the operational requirements are going to be for that chapter from an instructional and an on-field coaching status. So looking very much forward to getting that done within the next probably, I would say, 6 months. And then we'll take this step and go one step further and make sure that our chapters are, we'll apply the manual, we'll apply the best practices, and see, where chapters need some help, where there are practices that are in place that need to be ported and taken to other chapters as a better management practice. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, we'll assess our leadership structure, the executive board here, our regional reps, and make sure that we are still salient and that it's still the organization that we need to have to go forward with. We'll take a look very hard at smaller chapters. We'll take a look at larger chapters to see how they're operating and see what is optimal for us to make sure that our mission, our goals are being filtered down through the entire organization. So that's the effort, and I appreciate all the help that I'm getting from May and the board members on putting together this best practices manual and moving this organizational assessment forward. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you, John. As you can see, this is one of the imperatives that is a building block imperative. We need to do step 1 to get to step 2 and step 3. Whereas, for example, in the previous first imperative about the education resources, we can do several things on parallel tracks and have some accomplishments. Let's go on to the third imperative, which is partnerships and relations with other organizations. I'm going to ask Lance to step away from the table and discuss the partnerships in front of our nice banner here. I think is a good segue into that.
All right, so partnerships, relationships with other organizations. As you can see from our partnership banner, that these are our partners for 2019. And starting with Ref 6 with Hassan. Hassan will speak more about that tomorrow. What Ref 6 is, what it does, how it helps enhance your officiating. Torex, Smart Ball Pump, Official Sports, Uniform Provider, Ref Edge, Referee Spray, and last but not least, ECSR is our educational partner. With ECSR, we have 7 joint clinics together. Tomorrow will be the first joint clinic ever on this new partnership agreement. Another partner that we are entering into discussions with is for athleisure wear, and this would be a company called Lululemon. We are in discussions with them, providing our members discounts on workout and athletic apparel. More information will be about that when it's available. And then other related organizations continuing to work with the NCAA, Ryan Sigich and his staff, partnering with education. Dr. Todd Abraham will talk a little bit more about that, collaborating with them, making sure that we are giving one consistent message across the country, whether it's ECSR, whether it's NISOA, or whether it's the NCAA, with one consistent message and one consistent interpretation. That's it.
So we've made a lot of progress on that. We know there are other organizations we like to reach out and work with, and hopefully some reach out to us. We've got off to a good start on that. And then we have one more imperative, imperative number 4, for the universal recognized merit-based advancement system. That's a grand goal we like to see. There's a lot of building blocks we have to establish for that. So again, that one's a future one, but we thought that's an important one, not only for college but referees, but for the referee community as a whole. And we hope to, as our building blocks grow, have some more specific activities on a yearly basis. So that's where the strategic plan stands. Those are some more details about the specific goals and objectives that we have. And we do look at that we have pretty much monthly calls. We do discuss this plan every month. We look at our activities to see how all that fits within our plan, and we are following it. So, are there any particular questions on this? Thank you, Gary.
Next, we're going to move on to our Senior Director of Instruction, Dr. Todd Abraham. Todd's going to gloss over it, which is nothing we gloss over. But Todd will explain what we've got going on.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks again for that overview of the strategic plan and strategic imperatives. The instruction program is 100% aligned and focused on enabling the strategic plan. So as we look through the activities and the efforts that we're doing from an instructional perspective, it really is what do we need to do to best support those 4 strategic initiatives. And as we've evaluated what we've done instructionally over the past, we really had to take a hard look at the activities that we had historically and look at those things that needed to be enhanced and made even better, those things that we wanted to start to reflect a changing learning environment and a changing collegiate soccer environment, as well as those things that we had to make some tough decisions on and stop. And as we move through that, we've done a number of things here to really enhance the platforms that we use for instruction and to enhance the way we deliver information to our membership. I would be remiss if I didn't thank both Mark and Lance for the extraordinary efforts that they've been doing in developing the video sources, the video material, and the educational platforms that we've been unveiling here over the past year. Just to touch on a few of these things, we continue to look at our educational material in a number of different buckets. And so we look at how we can support the educational initiatives for individual chapters, because that is still the foundation for our broad membership education. 95% of our referees are educated at the local chapter level, and we have to make sure that those referees have very excellent and easy to deliver instructional material. Many of the chapters don't have trained clinicians and trained instructors in the chapters, and therefore the instructional material we prepare for them has to be almost self-taught material. It doesn't mean that we don't have very good referees in those chapters, it just means we don't have people that have been taught in the art of teaching. And so those materials that we provide for the chapter are all tried and true methods that have been used by the National Referee Program or elsewhere in our system, where we've developed instructor notes so that they can easily be communicated to the general membership. We also have online training now that we can do in much more real time. Through the incorporation of platforms like the YouTube channel, we can now take plays of the week, we can now take referees of the week, and we can now show things that are current issues within the NCAA and NAIA and bring those to the membership's attention, along with the appropriate interpretation and best practice for how you handle those situations. As you all remember, historically, we would have to wait till the end of the season. We develop material for the next year, and somewhere between 10 and 12 months after something happens, you'd see why it wasn't the right thing to do. Now it's somewhere between 10 and 12 hours, thanks to the work of Mark and Lance and many other people in the educational cadre. I did forget to mention, as part of the chapter work, I have to thank Jim Ruther, who is the person on the educational staff who handles our local chapter material development. And Jim has done a great job making sure that those thumb drives have gotten out to the chapters every year. This year we're going to most likely work with an online platform as opposed to a hard thumb drive, just to make sure more people within the local chapters have access to this educational material, and if there are different people in the chapter that need to present this material, they all have more real-time access to it. We also work on a lot of refresher material. So that refresher material that we do is both the refresher testing that everybody is required to take before the season starts. which allows people to get back into the intercollegiate mindset. Most of our referees are refereeing under a number of different laws and referee codes over the year, whether it's IFAB, USSF codes, or high school codes, and the rule differences continue to be an important part of the educational program. The purpose of the refresher test is to highlight those rule differences between the different codes to make sure that the referees can refresh themselves on those differences that they're going to have to start executing against during the collegiate season. And so that refresher test is something we think is very important. It's provided to each of the local chapters to give to their members in whatever form that local chapter feels is best for those educational purposes. As part of this refresher ongoing self-education process, we've entered into a relationship with United Educators, which is an online training portal that we used last year for the harassment training and are continuing to use again this year for both the harassment training as well as for online self-education modules. This is where a referee can look at certain topics and get refresher material on those certain topics based on the areas of their personal interest or their personal need, as well as a repository for this refresher test once the season is started and the local chapters have used it for their recertification so that people can go back and review some of the critical questions in critical areas. I have to thank Ross Malone for the work we've done with United Educators, because that really has been a great relationship that he spearheaded through his work at Murray State University. We also have a number of different written platforms where we use again, the website and our internet portals to be able to provide rules articles and current issues to our membership through the online portal, and continue to provide written material, as well as, of course, the preseason guide, which is a compilation of articles developed by our national clinician cadre that kicks off the season. And lastly, I want to mention the interactive opportunities through the Ask a Rules Question portal on the website as well, where we get a number of different questions that come in from referees based on their real-time experience on the field, which allows them to get very quick feedback from both the NCAA Secretary Rules Editor and myself as the NISOA Rules Interpreter. That's just a quick overview of some of the platforms that we have. I do want to spend a minute or two talking about some of the educational areas of focus for the upcoming year. The NCAA has 3 areas that they're looking for as points of emphasis for 2019. Number 1 is safety, as it always is, player safety in a number of different ways. Number 2 is a better interpretation, I'll call it, of the fighting rule. There's been a lot of discussion over the last few years about whether the way the fighting rule in the NCAA book is written as being too strict and too hard to differentiate between fighting and violent behavior. And so we'll be doing some training, you'll see this tomorrow as part of the educational material, to help referees understand what the NCAA would like to see us differentiate between fighting and violent behavior. And not to talk too much about what we'll be talking about tomorrow, the real difference here is to focus on deliberate and malicious as something that differentiates fighting from violent behavior. And the third area for the NCAA is around professionalism. And professionalism throughout the referee's performance, from the time the referee accepts a game assignment to the end of the season. So that professionalism is in the way the referees act with the assigners, the way that the referees interact pregame with the coaches and the teams, the conduct of the referee on the field, social media, and all the other things that can get people in trouble if they're not professional. NAIA has a similar set of points of emphasis. Theirs also is around fighting. They will stay consistent with the NCAA on the interpretation of fighting. The NAIA is concerned about bench conduct and about the interaction of referees and coaches, and the fact that there are too many coaches throwing too many tirades that are going unpunished. And NAIA would like to see that clamped down on a lot more firmly. And the NAIA believes that referees who are doing their games are letting way too much physical contact go by on the field that's not being penalized and dealt with, and would like to see the NAIA referees clamp down on that. Their feeling is that when a referee does an NAIA game, they go into that game allowing more contact, allowing more physical play. And the NAIA does not want that as an organization. They want that game officiated in a fashion similar to the NCAA, a lot more strictly, and a lot more focusing on player safety. I want to talk about a couple of partnerships that we have in addition to what's already been talked about. One of the first strategic imperative, the first strategic imperative that you had up, that we showed up there, was giving referees the opportunity to get game assignments which reflect their capabilities and desires long term. We recognize as an organization that game assignments are moving away from NISOA and have moved toward conference assigners and a different vehicle for getting you the games. What we can provide to referees is what we are providing, which is these educational initiatives to allow you to be fully versed in both the letter of the rules as well as the application of those rules as desired by the ruling bodies, the NCAA and AIA. But what we also can provide is an opportunity for you to get some visibility in front of some of the people who are making those assignments. NISOA has always had a relationship with NIRSA, which is the National Intramural and Recreation Soccer Association. We all know it as the club championships, where 96 top club teams around the country come together for a tournament at the end of the season. It's a fairly intense environment, and it's a very high quality series of soccer matches. This year, for the first time, we invited 4 different Division I assigners to the NIRSA tournament. They helped us select the referees that they wanted to evaluate, who are, if you like, on the cusp of getting Division I assignments. And we were able to use that venue and that relationship we have with NIRSA to provide opportunities for those referees. From that event, we had 6 referees get added to Division I center lists because of the exposure and visibility they had at that tournament. We do have very tight partnerships with both the NCAA Secretary Rules Editor and the Rules Interpreter for the NAIA and their directors of officials, and we use that to develop educational material that reflects both their points of emphasis and needs, as well as being the vehicle for them to ensure that NISOA is providing the training to referees that referees need. Through those relationships, NISOA is responsible for writing the postseason test, and therefore we are very much aligned with training and testing people against the things that are most important to both of those postseason organizations. Again, setting our officials up to have the opportunity to get the best assignments that they're capable of getting. So that's a quick overview of the instruction program. Again, I have to thank all those people who have made major contributions to the program, not only the people I called out by name, but all of the national clinicians that provide us the source material, and all the referees and conferences that provide us video material that we can use for this training. And we want to continue to request that people provide us with video and video links so that we have the material that we can use to develop the educational material that you'll get a chance to review. So that, Mr. President, is my report, and I'm happy to take any questions if anybody in the audience has any.
The preseason report,
In terms of preseason
when it's
guide.
going to go out?
Preseason guide, I received the final draft today. It'll go to the printer next week, and the preseason mailing should go out, usually goes out around the first week of August, so that everybody has it before August 15th, kickoff of the season. This is not a rule change year, so there is no new rule book this year. I probably should talk about rule changes, thanks for that. So the only rule change for this year is the incorporation of a hydration break when the wet bulb globe temperature is 86 degrees Fahrenheit or above. The schools are responsible for measuring that temperature, and the trainer, the athletic trainer on site, should be the one who informs the referee of whether or not that happens. Should that temperature be above 86 degrees, you are required, not requested, required, to provide at minimum a 3-minute hydration break for the players between the 25th and 30th minute. It can be concurrent with a TV break in a game that's televised. Should that temperature change during the half and the trainer comes to you and tells you the temperature is now above 86 degrees, give them the hydration break. We'll talk more about this again tomorrow. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that none of the IFAB rule changes that went into effect or will go into effect this coming season have been adopted by NCAA. So all those things that kids will be playing with over the summer now that they'll be expecting to play with during the collegiate season is not the case. There are a number of those changes that align IFAB with things that have been NCAA rules before. I won't say that we drove that, but it will make that easier. But there are a number of things that are different Probably most notably, I think, personally, I think will be the restarts inside the penalty area that now, according to IFAB, do no longer have to clear the penalty area before the ball's in play. But again, NCAA will still require those kicks to clear the penalty area before the ball is in play. And it will be very important that the referees are aware of the fact that none of these IFAB changes are being incorporated into the NCAA game at this time. I fully expect that many of them will be during the next rules-making cycle, but for 2019, we have to operate under the current NCAA rules, not the expected ones for 2020.
Exactly.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Dad. All right, we'll move on to the Senior Director of Evaluations, which is Jordan Eugene. Lance is his proxy today. Yes, please.
Okay, I will be representing George Nugent, our Senior Director of Evaluations, and we have two things to talk about. The first is a new policy regarding the NISOA National Referee Program Assessment Policy. The old policy reads as this: must submit one assessment as a referee and one assessment as an assistant referee by a certified NISOA regional or national assessor of regular or postseason intercollegiate soccer games for each year which meet or exceed the levels standard established by the NRP program. The same assessor may not do more than one assessment for the same referee. Another national referee may not assess the referee. So the old policy was for national referees, you had to have one center assessment for maintenance and one AR assessment for maintenance. Now that has changed. The new policy reads, must submit two assessments from collegiate soccer matches by certified NISOA regional or national assessors of regular or postseason intercollegiate soccer matches for each year, which meet or exceed the level of standards established by the National Referee Program. These two assessments shall be in any combination of referee or assistant referee positions. So national referees having two assessments as such will be recommended solely for postseason assignments upon their referee positions. So if you have a referee that has two center assessments, he or she will be recommended for postseason play as a referee. Likewise, national referees having two assessments as assistant referees will be recommended for postseason assignments solely for the assistant referee position. So again, assistant referee, both assessments, he or she will be recommended for postseason play for assistant referee only position. And then national referees having two assessments, one as an assistant referee and one as a referee, will be recommended for both positions. So we want to adapt to the current assignment climate where we have assistant referees that are specifically for assistant refereeing that only get assistant referee assignments. And then likewise, we have referees that get solely referee assignments that really don't do a whole lot of assistant refereeing. So instead of taking them away from a match to go to be an assistant referee, we are allowing two assessments as referee or two assessments as assistant referee. So that's the policy change, and that will be on the website. It will be communicated to all the region reps, the RACs, as well as the National Referee Program. Now the assessment program. And this was an email that was sent out about a month ago, and I'm just going to reread it. This serves as a reminder to register. This is for the assessors, national and regional assessors, to register for an approved NISOA National Referee Clinic from the schedule located on NISOA.com. These clinics are free of charge for all to attend, regardless of their certification level. In 2020, the National Assessment Program will undergo a change, shifting focus to a coach-mentor philosophy when providing feedback to officials, much like the rest of the world. National referee coaches will be selected on an annual basis. Attendance at an approved 2019 National Referee Clinic and active involvement in the assessment program will be taken heavily into consideration when making selections for the National Referee Program. Only national and regional assessors will be eligible for selection into the national referee program. Any questions, please contact George Nugent. His email address, georgenugent@verizon.net. However, he prefers a phone call, and his phone number, which will be posted, is 951-505-8348.
Call it anytime.
Call it anytime, just like he calls me, like anytime.
I just want 2 minutes.
So there's not a whole lot of information here per se, so more information will be provided in the future. We're working out the details, the little details of the program, so that way when 2020 recertification rolls around, everybody will be up to speed and clear on the instructions.
How many total national referees do we have now?
Total national referees, 174. So we have 174 national referees and close to 200 national assessors. So we have more assessors than referees. It's not a bad thing as long as our national assessors are actively involved in working, whether it be national assessments or chapter development assessments. So our biggest change here is we want our assessors to be more involved and engaged in referee development as the things that we've discussed here today. Any questions on the National Referee Program or the assessment program? George Nugent.
All right, moving along, Jim Miller, our chairman of our regional representative.
On behalf of the 11 regional reps, I want to thank you for attending, whether you're here in person or whether you're watching us through YouTube or on the internet. Thank you for coming and participating in this 2019 AGM. The regional representatives have been developing a plan to implement NISOA's strategic planning initiative. As a valuable link between the organization's senior leadership and the local chapters and their members, we are tasked to ensure that the local chapters hear the message and understand how to implement it. Strategic imperative number 1, as we've heard, NISOA provides members with best opportunity to get the game assignments based upon their skill set. To NISOA's goal to train, certify, and provide qualified soccer referees for college soccer throughout the country, we will work with the leadership of local chapters to know, understand, and utilize the instructional materials developed by NISOA. We shall encourage said leadership to support each other, or each of their members, to her or his realistic skill level, and then further train and coach them for improvement. NISOA educational products deliver an up-to-date, relevant, and extensive learning experience. On our website, under the Instructions tab, are 3 sections. There are 120 instructional video presentations, some on technical subjects, such as use of advantage and the tiebreaker procedure. Some deal with referees' mental development, such as conflict management, blown call, now what? And something entitled, A Model for Understanding and Dealing with Misconduct and Preventing Mass Confrontation. Anybody been there? There are also some referee development presentations, such as Coach's Perspective on Officiating and Room for Improvement. The second section contains 7 video instruction analysis with items such as penalty decisions and challenge in the attacking third, to name a couple. The third section lists the learning portal and its 6 courses, including the currently relevant Prevent Discrimination and Harassment that's required. We will also promote the local chapter's utilization of our YouTube videos. Encouraging member registration and promoting the content will further help members to study their craft when they have available time in their schedules. We will promote these new NISOA initiatives, such as the Referee Summit, which was held in St. Louis this year, and referee development and identification events. We will look in our regions for these opportunities for the referee development and identification events especially. I believe it's in discussion or anticipated that we might do 4 or 5, or as many as 4 or 5 each year. But certainly, each time one of these has been successful, and so far we've seen success in what we've done this spring, that just lends itself to trying to do more to achieve the goals that we set. We will reach out to local chapter leadership to ensure that the physical performance test is understood and is implemented correctly. When possible, we will attend these events to assist where needed. Most referees consider the possibility of their working Division I games and postseason contests at all levels. We will work with the National Referee Program regional area coordinators to help identify worthy referees. In working with local chapter leaders to promote this program, members can have a clear understanding of what is necessary to achieve their goal. Strategic Imperative 2. NISOA leadership and the chapter model effectively supports the NISOA mission. Dr. Ray Burnaby believed in having as much control and responsibility as possible retained at the local chapter level. But with that said, he was also a strong proponent of a structure or a model to follow. The NISOA local chapter model is very good, provided one knows and understands it. It's our responsibility to ensure that local chapter leadership knows and understands the model and adheres to its provisions. To this end, we need to know when leadership changes in our local chapters. This will allow us to open a channel of communications and engage the new officers in dialogue to offer information and to field their questions. Strategic Imperative number 3. NISOA will have an effective and productive relationship with related organizations. Before conference assigning, local chapter leadership developed relationships with colleges they serviced. A rapport was developed with the athletic directors and the coaches. With the advent of conference assigning, much of this was lost on the average local chapter leadership. We propose that the regional representatives are in a position to work with conference assigners to promote NISOA certified referees. Then, to receive feedback and work with referees through their leadership in their local chapters and or with the National Referee Program to aid in their continuous improvement. Strategic Imperative number 4. NISOA will develop a universally recognized merit-based advancement system. As NISOA develops a merit-based advancement system, the regional representatives are in a position to help spread the knowledge and facilitate its use. Representatives are in a position to help, as an important connection between NISOA leadership, local chapter officers and their members, and outside parties such as the NCAA, NAIA, NJCAA, various conferences, and the National Federation of High Schools. We can initiate a dialogue with these key constituents. We look forward to the 2019 intercollegiate and interscholastic soccer seasons and the opportunity to improve the quality for the game. Thank you.
Very good, Jim. Any questions to Jim on that? No, we're switching. What are they doing? Here. All right, we're going to go, Tom, you're on.
Thank you, Jerry. Good evening, everyone.
proudly say I'm a member of the largest chapter in the country right now. And many of you in here in Triangle, NC can say the same thing, and you should do so proudly. I know Joe Rivetti may take issue with that, but and still he changes from 3 chapters to 1. I'm going to say we're the largest chapter. There are 3 chapters combined, probably might be a little larger, but that's, and I've argued with George over that. Oh, that's 1 chapter. I said, no, it's not 1 chapter. You still pay dues for 3 chapters. So, and North California used to be the largest chapter in the country, but we have surpassed them. So that's attributable to the work of this chapter and its leadership, and I am proud to say that I'm a part of that, although I don't do the leadership anymore, but we're grateful for that anyway. And I want to thank the board for choosing Greensboro for the AGM. I've never been fearful of inviting anyone from a national organization to come to Greensboro to see any event that they put on. I've got that kind of confidence in those gentlemen and ladies that work in our organization, and they've always done a great job, and I think you're going to see tomorrow probably the largest National Referee Academy we've ever seen around the country, period. So that's the kind of confidence I have in you all. And the people we have coming in, the people we've always brought in, have always been very good. And we're not, no exception tomorrow. So I'm going to give you a report on the membership. As of today, we have 4,429 registered members for 2019. Total new members to date is 196. That's 4 ahead of the same date last year. Last year we had a total of 553 new members, and we need 361 of those were added after 5/31 last year. So that's why I have a busy summer usually. A lot of new members. Of course, a lot of the chapters have their meetings in the summertime, have their tests in the summertime, so they have to get through all that before they can send the paperwork to the new members. So that's what we anticipate. Late renewals last year after 5/31 was 187. So if it stands true to form, I'm projecting we'll have membership of 4,959 members by the end of or start of the season. Now, just a little extra work by some of you recruiting or in your chapters. If you go back home, we need 41 more over that number, and we'll have 5,000. That's our goal for this year. So, and that'll fulfill all of our revenue goals and everything if we can meet that number. So that's our anticipated. So I would anticipate, hopefully that'll happen. The other part of my presentation is about awards. And we have some awards that will be given out tomorrow. We have a session tomorrow for briefly that's going to be conducted that will give out. I think we got 4 awards tomorrow to give out here locally. I'll not give you all names, but I will give you one that's important. If you haven't heard already, that some of you already know, Roger Morton will be inducted to the Hall of Fame tomorrow as a referee. This has been 3 years in the making, and finally got enough guys to get enough information that we could get a bio put together. He refused to give me all these years because he didn't feel worthy, he said, but anyway. Roger will be...
Did those people see him referee though?
Yeah, in spite of that, they did.
Okay.
So, if you know any of your buddies that hadn't planned to come and want to come, I would suggest to come. This is probably the largest Hall of Fame induction group of people that will have happened in NISOA since we started that process years ago. I don't know there'll be a higher number than usually we've done it at the National Convention, and that was 100 to 120 people. That was somewhere in the neighborhood when I was inducted, so that's my brother from another mother to get it going in now. So, also tomorrow in North Texas, Marcel Sapos, he will be inducted. He's our 2018 winner as a referee. And Ken Roberts will be later this summer, sometime in the New England area, as the Administrative Hall of Fame inductee for 2018. We do not have one for 2019 on the administrative side this year, but Gary, you do have a special announcement on one other one going into the Hall of Fame as a referee for 2018.
Yeah, the executive board took into consideration after quite a bit of tweeting and emailing in the last few weeks that Gino DiPolito has been elected into the Hall of Fame. Okay? Most of you know him. He's been around a long time. I refereed a lot of games with me. He wouldn't let me make any calls. but I did a lot of games with him. He's a good guy, and by special election, we are voting Gino DiPolito into the Hall of Fame as a referee. Okay?
He has been notified that I could not make the phone call to him, which is usually the privilege and honor that I have of doing, but he is so hard of hearing that he would not have been able to understand the phone call. So I did communicate with his son today, and he was overwhelmed by himself and said that his dad would surely be appreciative. So I sent an email to him. He said he checks his emails frequently, and he was out of town today and tomorrow, so I couldn't call him personally, but hopefully he'll know that news tonight, and that will be done sometime later this summer, as soon as they can get it worked out. We do not expect him to be with us this time next year. So that was another reason why it was done this year, so that he would at least be around to have that honor bestowed upon him. Some Referee of the Year awards will be given out. I have, I think, 4 out of the 11 in hand. I'm not going to give you all the names tonight, but we do have also a couple other awards tomorrow. The Bob Sumter Teaching Award will be given tomorrow. That name will not be given out tonight. I will say the Referee of the Year for Region 6 is going to be here, and that is Kadeem Sabaro. He comes from our region, thank goodness. He's also part of our chapter. And there's also 2 Ray Burnaby Honor Awards to be given out, one tomorrow and one later on in this summer. And I'll share those names because that is a surprise to the individual. They don't get notified in advance. So if you want to know who it is, show up tomorrow and you'll get to find out. Any questions, comments? Thank you all for showing up for the meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Lance. One last thing in terms of membership, one person that does a lot of work behind the scenes that doesn't get a whole lot of recognition, and that's Dave Steiner, who's been filling our new membership packets for us. With local chapters having their clinics this summer, and preseason clinics, and fitness testing for a certificate of liability insurance request that most facilities are requiring now, you will need to contact Sandy McDowell with our insurance company. Sandy's contact information is online on our website, but those of you that don't have it, sandy.mcdowell@relationinsurance.com, and she asks to have this request no less than 14 days in advance. She is extremely good about turning it around, usually within a couple days, but with the summer being busy for her, she would like at least 2 weeks.
Okay, moving on to any unfinished business. We're currently working on purging the forms and getting them updated on the NISOA web page. We've already made some changes, updated others, got rid of the ones that are no longer usable. We're also working on the sales tax exemption for NISOA. It's a little tricky as each state, as any of you that are familiar with state taxes, each state has their own little grab bag or whatever you want to call it. I'll call it a grab bag. And all states are different on how you have to report. So we're looking into that to seeing what we can do and how we can do it. If we can get some stuff and don't have to pay tax on it, so be it. New business we'll move on to. We've already talked about the Tony Deloy's appointment today. We're also going to be, we're looking for a National Director of Assessments, which is an open job right now. So, you know, that would go through George Nugent when you have somebody that might be interested in it. Forward the name to George, and George will talk to you for a couple hours and we'll vet the person, okay? Also, I wanted to recognize Kyle Atkins from the Kansas City NISOA. For those of you who don't know, he's a NISOA member and a FIFA AR, and he's been appointed to the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, or is appointed to the FIFA World Cup in Poland, currently taking place. So I know Kyle, great young man, and we shall feel proud for him. Okay? On a sadder note, we've had a few members pass away on us this year. I'd like to read their names. Dr. George Kirchner from Lehigh Valley, John McKay, Pioneer Valley, Massachusetts, Jeff James from New York, and Mike Paulson from Georgia. Did a lot for NISOA, quite a few years there of refereeing and administration. Again, more people to put in your thoughts and their families. Any questions? One point that I...
You forgot Christine Uncle.
Oh, I did I? NISOA member and FIFA referee Christine Uncle on her new role with Fox Sports as the laws of the game analyst for the FIFA World Women's Cup in France. Okay? Accolades again to Christine. Parlez-vous français?
I should have learned from
Oh,
last
God.
week.
Oh, good. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to talk about. We had no policy changes this year, so nothing to talk about on policy changes. We're trying to still take the policy manual from, it was here, nah, it's about right there. Okay, we used to have the driver from the airport when they pick people up, you know, and how that was named. So we kind of struck that from the rolls. So we're trying to get the policy manual. It is online for anybody to view. So if you've got any policy questions, it's right there. Just type in policy manual and it'll come up for you. All right? Anything else? Any questions? Comments? Statements? The other two turned it down, so but God love Lance. Anyway, no, thank you, Lance. Really appreciate it.
Did you get a razor with that job?
Yeah, he gets one razor. Yeah. All right. The craft razor, whatever it is. But no, so Lance and the executive board heads agreed to a 3-year term. Okay, so Lance has showed us in the last year and 6 months especially what we can look forward to. Again, if you have any questions, ask Lance.
Ask George Nugent.
And ask him, he'll pass them down.
Whoever's not here.
Any other? Yeah. Again, one other thing I want to reiterate is the summits that we're looking at. Okay? If you've got any interest or seem to be interested where we can get at least 150 to 200 people in an area for one of our summits, please contact us. And we'll put this out. We'll be asking on the web again. Do I have a move to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Tom.
Second.
Seconded by
Me.
John Puglisi. John.